before we officially start, just a few house rules. So kindly mute your mic when not speaking in the interest of consideration for other participants and the panelists. And there will be time for an open forum. So kindly note down your questions beforehand or send them in the Q&A chat box later for our panelists to answer. And for your information, this meeting will be recorded for documentation, and participants will be receiving post-training handouts or materials and a recording of this training for their reference. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome our speaker for opening Mr. Albert Magalang, Chief Environmental Management Specialist from Vision.
A pleasant afternoon to all our participants, especially the hotel and restaurant managers and event organizers which were invited to this session. And also a special uh, thanks also for the Executive Director of the Philippine Hotel Owners Association Incorporated of the Philippines, and the person of Ms. Lenny Pabul, the Executive Director. And also to our partners from the Philippine Center for Environmental Protection and Sustainable Development Incorporated, as well as our partners from the Humane Society International for having organized this event. And the Environmental Management Bureau, in behalf of of its director, William Cuñado, would like to thank all the participants who are participating in this event, and we hope that the event would help us in attaining our vision to promote sustainable consumption and production in the Philippines, which I think that's the reason why SFC and the Humane Society International have organized this event. So it is also worth mentioning that the plant-based culinary training, this training also supports the Transforming Tourism Value Chains Project roadmap for low carbon and resource efficient tourism in the Philippines, which some agencies are also working together to realize the project's objective. Basically, that is promoting more sustainable food systems for our hotel and the MICE establishments. Course of the training, we hope that the participants would be able to familiarize themselves with and animal welfare concepts, as well as plant-based diets and more, which are more sustainable. Because we believe that this will, also for the session, we would like to have somehow a discussion on the nutrition that one can get from having a plant-based diet, which I think some of the speakers will be talking about that. And also, it's I'd like to mention that this training also supports the plant-based program of the DNR, considering that reducing meat intake can mitigate greenhouse gas emissions of overall. So that's actually why we would also be very interested to have this low meat reduction in meat intake, because it actually addresses climate change. It's a climate change mitigation measure actually. In fact, I remember that last year in Bonn, during the UN Sustainable Gastronomy Day, experts gathered at the climate change conference, and they were able to discuss the need to transform the way we produce and consume food. More sustainable practices in the food industry and more climate-friendly dietary habits are essential to achieve the objectives of the Paris Climate Change Agreement and, of course, the Sustainable Development Goals. So it is estimated that around one-fifth of the world's greenhouse gas emissions are generated by agriculture and land use, including forestry, fisheries, and livestock production. That's according to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN. So at the same time, the effects of climate change are also threatening global food security as climate change is making it more difficult to grow adequate food and for rapidly growing populations. So we can also observe that having this plant-based diet could also will also form part of the climate change adaptation measure. Having all this, difficulty in growing food and having um, the climate change impacts on food security. So with that, the Environmental Management Bureau, in behalf of Dr. Peñado, would like once again congratulate ISEPSD and the Humane Society International for having this kind of training, for this kind of events where directly engaging hotels, restaurants, and even organizations, as also our partners in addressing climate change. Thank you very much, and good afternoon once again.
Thank you, Sir Albert, for Stone for this training. It is an honor to support the DNR plant-based program through our engagement with the International for more sustainable consumption and production practices. So for our speaker, I'd like to welcome Mr. Christian Valhagen, Project Officer of the Transforming Tourism Value Chain Project at the Philippine Center for Environmental Protection and Sustainable Development. Mr. Valhagen, you have the floor.
Okay, good everyone. Hold on, I'll just start my video. Good afternoon, and thank you for being here with us for today's training. So if I can, okay, yeah, let's go. Thank you. So we hope everyone is doing fine and staying healthy. And welcome to the second training under the Transforming Tourism Value Chains Project, the theme on low carbon menus, plant-based culinary in collaboration with Humane Society International. My name is Kiko Velhagen, and I'm a project officer of this particular project, which is in partnership with the Department of Tourism, UN Environment, DENR, and among others, and also FOA, or Philippine Hotel Owners Association, Inc., and funded by the German government, Federal Ministry for the Environment, Nature Conservation, and Nuclear Safety through the International Climate Initiative. So next slide, please. So first off, I'd like to introduce the organization that I represent. I work for the Philippine Center for Environmental Protection and Sustainable Development, Inc., and it is a non-stock, non-profit, and non-government organization. We are the administrator of the National Eco-Labeling Program, Green Choice Philippines, or NELP GCP for short. Next slide, please. So a bit more about NELP GCP. So we need sustainability now more than ever. The vision of our office has always been to create a more sustainable society. One of the ways in which our office is helping businesses build back better is through eco-labeling and sustainable consumption and production. The National Eco-Labeling Program, Green Choice Philippines, is a voluntary, third-party, so there's no bias there, Type 1 eco-labeling program, which is guided by principles and procedures of ISO 14024. So that provides criteria for environmentally sound and preferable products. The criteria developed considers the life cycle of the product, meaning we take a look into the environmental impacts from its inception up to its disposal, or cradle to grave, and come up with standards to limit or remove completely the negative impacts at their entry points in the life cycle. The program is a multi-sector initiative which consists of government, business, academia, and civic organizations, where we not only develop criteria, but of course we promote the program, the products that we certify, and how to acquire these green procurement. So product criteria as well as the certified products can be found on our website at www.psepsd.org.ph. So one Green Choice Philippines criteria that may be of interest to everyone here is the one for food service establishments. So this criteria was revisited and revitalized in collaboration with WWF Philippines through one of their sustainable tourism projects called the Sustainable Diner Project just last year. Next slide, please. Okay. So going forward into tourism, we'll start off with some statistics. Our vision of a more sustainable and resilient society also expands to the tourism sector, which is one of the hardest hit sectors of the pandemic. So pre-pandemic times, tourism globally provided large economic and social benefits, especially in the Philippines. It was very prosperous and observed growth in the past years, reaching 12.7% GDP contribution in 2019. But in terms of environmental contribution, it was said that worldwide tourism contributed to 8% of global greenhouse gas emissions from 2009 to 2013. According to Carbon Brief, where they cover the latest developments about climate change. And one thing that they mentioned that may be a bigger polluter than the construction industry. There are no local statistics for greenhouse gas emissions. That's why I want to go for project one. But I'm sure we are all aware of cases facts because of over tourism or poor solid waste management in the country. So it is then our hope that through this project, transforming tourism value chains in. Oh, sorry. There, got my video. Sorry again. That through this project, the transforming tourism value chains in developing countries and small island developing states, we mitigate these environmental impacts and create a more sustainable tourism sector in the Philippines. So through this project, we assist tourism businesses towards a green recovery by transforming the sector into resource efficient and low carbon operations, looking at the aspects of a few things, energy, water, food waste, among others. So aside from the Philippines, they implement public solution and so as you see, we're overly managed by PSEPs here, also UN Environment, as they are international partners. So one that may be not common to all is the term value chain. So to define this, a value chain is the entire activities or parties that provide a value in the form of products or services. So mapping and managing the value chain is about extending one's line of sight and influence beyond the traditional areas of focus on immediate supply chain partners. So to take a more comprehensive look at the entire commodity or service chain, thus creating a map of the structure of the value chain of actors within it and in their interactions. So a few things that one can ask their value chain is in this particular context is if it's environmentally safe, is it socially ethical, will it benefit all parties involved? Next slide, please. So the main objective, which you may have picked up from the title itself, is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in three major tourism sectors with high resource use. So namely the accommodation, the MICE, and cross-cutting their food and beverages. Next slide, please. As you can see, these are the pilot size of the project when it began in 2017. But though these are the pilot sites with reasons, as you can see, we are no longer limiting our reach. Our virtual trainings and virtual support will be available for anyone in the country for as long as the project is running, which is until the end of next year, 2021. Next. Okay. So since the project began in 2017, one of its milestones is the creation and the development of a roadmap. So this roadmap was created after conducting key workshops, consultations, trainings, and research that consists of 4 systemic solutions, namely sustainable food value chains, sustainable events, zero pollution from tourism, and sustainable energy. Each solution has their own set of activities that are described in detail on how to implement, who to implement with, and when, and thus guides us to achieve the goals or targets of the roadmap, which are also very much in line with the Sustainable Development Goals. So, though the roadmap was designed assuming nothing out of the ordinary would happen along the way, COVID-19 happened. So nevertheless, we regrouped with our partners and adjusted our plans accordingly to best support stakeholders such as yourselves during these times in the road to a better and green recovery. So we'll let you know later on how we will be supporting further. As you can see, these are the targets of the roadmap for 2025. So namely 15% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions, 25% reduction in edible food waste, zero untreated sewage from hotels and venues that goes into the sea, and 50% reduction in non-renewable energy use. So we hope to achieve these targets with the help and monitoring of at least 50% of hotels and venues. So are engaged in the project. So we hope to engage much more, of course, to establish a better and more robust baseline in order to achieve these goals. So by 2030, we should achieve, of course, double the output by, again, which are in the SDGs. Next slide, please. So focusing on the theme at hand, sustainable food value chains, what you see on your screen are the main systemic solutions under this theme. And as you can see, a few of which support the training. The training today supports more than one of these solutions, so namely sustainable government policies. So we will update you accordingly of future activities covering the other systemic solutions that the project can offer. Next slide, please. So, but in general, these are ways on how we, as a project, can support your businesses further. So number one, monitoring and reporting of resource consumption, including greenhouse gas emissions, accounting and analysis. So we have also have support from greenhouse gas experts abroad and local. And we've created a tool or an Excel file that calculates the carbon footprint of the things that the usual businesses consume and procure. So second, developing an action plan for carbon mitigation strategy. So with this tool, data that comes about, we are ready and prepared to discuss with these businesses, hotels and MICE, on what type of strategies that they'd like to focus on based on the analysis and of course, the initiatives of the business. So third, access to knowledge products, expertise from trainees and experts. So today is a good example to show everyone that we have a good range of professional experts and partners, so such as HSI, WWF, as I mentioned a while ago, DNR, and others. So other than that, we also have knowledge products, which one will also show in our next slide. But these are publications and research that would be most helpful to tourism practitioners. And lastly, we can support in terms of recognition of businesses' sustainability commitments and achievements. So with the project, it's hard. It's not only do we support, encourage, and influence, but of course, when you achieve this, which is very much an accomplishment, the project will not just the project as a whole, so including UN Environment and our local partners, will recognize, of course, the efforts done to achieve the sustainability goals of the project. So next slide. So here is one, maybe one relevant knowledge product that we'd like to share. So other than food, of course, we also have this common problem regarding plastic, which I'll briefly discuss. So the plastic pollution has been aggravated by the pandemic. And since it is part of our work as tourism professionals to keep our environment and tourism destinations clean, we encourage everyone to take part in tackling plastic pollution and simultaneously adhere, of course, to the proper health and safety guidelines and procedures. So we'd like to also share with, we'd like to share that the report is made by UNEP, a UN Environment Program, UNWTO, and MacArthur Foundation, and the Global Tourism Plastics Initiative. And the title, as you can see, is Recommendations for the Tourism Sector to Continue Taking Action on Plastic Pollution During COVID-19 Recovery. So the report covers 5 main actions. Number 1, necessity. Is it necessary to wrap or cover touch points with plastic? Number 2, sanitation. A comprehensive sanitation procedure encouraging reuse models, of course, will not need plastic. So as you can see, there's a connection between already the 2 actions. The third action, assessment. Evaluate use of unavoidable plastics and dispose it properly, or find a way to recycle or upcycle. So there are a lot of initiatives here in the Philippines that are accepting clean plastic that can be upcycled and recycled. And of course, we have to also follow our laws, our A9003 or the Solid Waste Management Act. Third, coordination. Communication and coordination, of course, is key to tackle that common problem. And lastly, transparency. So let everyone know the procedures, the process to influence and be further encouraged to tackle the plastic problem. So these are recommendations in better managing plastic pollution in our businesses and in hopes of influencing tourists and others to do the same. So we'll be sharing the report post-training. So lastly, we'll also be having a campaign with DOT with a theme on phasing out single-use plastics in the industry. We are in the middle of finalizing media cards and campaign materials that can be used by accommodation and MICE businesses, and we'll surely update you on this. So next slide, please. So as my last slide of encouragement and hopes to further influence and strengthen sustainable tourism, the overall mindset for the recovery from this pandemic is to build back better. The crisis is worse than we could have imagined, but we can take this time to learn and capture opportunities guided by sustainability principles. In order to achieve a more resilient and sustainable future of the tourism sector and to reach the SDGs, we need to do the following. Number 1, we need to have a strong stewardship of nature and biodiversity. So let us work and be mindful of the present and future environment. Number 2, we need to have a sound management of waste and water. Let us be more mindful of our surroundings and resources that we acquire. And lastly, we need to have a clear commitment to building back better, creating green jobs and facilitating the transition to a carbon neutral future. So let us be committed to the green recovery. Let us make this the turning point for a better future. So that is all on my end on our project. If for those interested who would like to know more about the Transforming Tourism Value Chains project in detail, we are very much open to discuss further. Just email us. I'm sure you have all our emails, but we'll be sending you materials, of course, after this. But yeah, just shoot us an email and we can discuss further if you're interested to know more how our project can support you. So Thank you and enjoy the rest of the training. But yeah, okay, moving forward, I'd like to introduce our partner, Mr. Adwayne Joseph D. Alcantara, who is the campaign manager in the Philippines representing Humane Society International as our next speaker.
Thank you, Kiko. So sorry everyone, it's raining actually right now in Cavite, but you'll see more of the venue actually tomorrow during our culinary training. Hopefully, I don't get disconnected with our unstable connection right now. But let me share to you our presentation there. So to start, Humane Society International is actually one of the world's largest animal protection organizations. For more than 25 years, HSI has been working for the protection of all animals through the use of science, advocacy, education, and hands-on programs. Basically, the campaigns of HSI are grouped into companion animals. So they work against dog fighting, we work against dog and cat welfare, we work for against dog meat trade, and then there's wildlife against pork and promoting human wildlife conflict, rhino and elephant protection, against seal slaughter, shark finning, trophy hunting, whaling, and wildlife trade. And then we have animal protection and crisis response. So against abuse and neglect of animals, cruelty of animals in entertainment, and also disaster response. For farm animals, we have the factory farming and plant-based eating. And then for animals in laboratories, we have animal testing, the cruelty-free campaign, biomedical research. And other ways we help animals around the world is also through education and training, legislation, political advocacy, policy, and treaties. In the Philippines, we have actually two campaigns running right now. One is farm animals. So we are working and promoting cage-free eggs production, plant-based eating, which includes the culinary training, which you will have tomorrow, and the nutrition seminar, which you will have today. And we're also working on animals in laboratories, on animal-free safety assessment seminars, promoting bee cruelty-free cosmetics, and ban on animal testing. The plant-based eating campaign is actually present in more than 14 countries right now, and we have more than actually 11 campaigns. You might have heard of other names because sometimes we use a different name in each of the countries. So you might have heard of Meatless Monday in the United States, Forward Food in UK, or Green Monday in South Africa, and also Green Monday in Vietnam. For the Philippines, we actually named it Plant-Based Eating Philippines. So our work includes culinary training. We train chefs, cooks to make delicious plant-based meals. If you're going to look at the picture, most of our culinary training are actually face-to-face. But right now, due to the COVID situation, we're doing it through a webinar. But if ever the hotels who are attending right now would like to have a face-to-face culinary training session, would be happy to go to your hotels to do the culinary training, at least in a small group. We can do it during this COVID situation. And then we also help in recipe development. So we help your restaurant and your hotels hopefully to have more plant-based meals in our menu as well. So we bring in our chefs to help your chefs and cooks in the hotels to do more or have more plant-based recipes in their menu. And then we also have the nutrition seminar. Normally it is together with the culinary training, but right now we'll have it as well in the webinar. But again, if you would like it to have in your own hotels and restaurants, then we'll be happy to go there, our nutritionists and our chefs, to do the nutrition seminar and the culinary training. Together with that, we also do a greenhouse gas and animal welfare seminar. But for today, the greenhouse gas program will be using more of what is PCEPSDI is using. And then I'll discuss later more of our animal welfare seminar as well. The goal actually of our campaigns is very simple. We hope that our partner hotels and restaurants would reduce the purchases of their meat, egg, and dairy products by around 20%. So it's like hopefully in around a week, you would serve one day within 5 days completely plant-based meals. Or in your menu, at least if ever you have five different menus, at least one of those five menu would be completely plant-based. And of course, the target is hopefully you increase the 20% more as we go along with the partnership, and would be happy to help you every year as well to train your chefs or cooks and to do the nutrition seminars as well from time to time. So that hopefully you can achieve the 20% after some time and then hopefully increase it even as years go by. For the animal welfare seminar, I'll make it brief so that you'll have more time with regards to our nutrition seminar. So you can see on the picture, I believe you've seen a lot of pictures like this before, where chickens are actually crowded in cages in most of the commercial poultry farms. Also, pigs have the same actually situation right now. So they're all crowded in cages where they've grown, fattened, and then killed after some time. Cows also have the same situation in most of the poultry farms in the country, right? In other countries as well, especially in international countries. To sum it up, actually, the plant-based eating campaign is very simple. If you reduce your meat, egg, and dairy purchase by 20%, you can see that 1 kilogram of plant protein takes 100 times less water than a kilogram of animal protein. And livestock production uses 1/3 of the world's fresh water and it's a major contributor to water pollution. So if you just reduce 20% of your meat, egg, and dairy consumption, then you'll be helping actually more than 200 times of the water that is being consumed in the production of poultry products like chicken, beef, and pork. And also a plant-based diet requires 7 times less land to produce than an animal-based diet. So you'll be reducing actually a lot of land if you eat more plant-based than consuming chicken, pork, and beef. And animal agriculture produces 18% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions, more than all of global transportation combined. And animal agriculture is the #1 cause of tropical deforestation and biodiversity loss. So you'll be saving a lot of water and a lot of land actually if you are eating more plant-based meals in your diet. As you can see on the picture, this is a regular commercial poultry farm. As you can see, a lot of land, a lot of water is being used to breed these pigs, chicken, and cows. And imagine if you can only reduce 20% of this land, there's a lot of land and water that we can help reduce. And we are reducing not only the water consumption and the land consumption, but also we are reducing water pollution and greenhouse gas emissions as well. Did you know that according to the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, the animal agricultural sector is responsible for approximately 14.5% to 16.5% of human-induced greenhouse gas emissions. So if you reduce your meat, egg, and dairy purchase by 20% and you have 20% more of your plant-based diet, then you are actually reducing around 4 to 5% of human-induced greenhouse gas emission. And that is a good contribution actually to the situation of our environment right now. I'll turn you over to Kiko now to explain more of the resource efficiency tool that they are doing to measure the greenhouse gas reduction.
I see it's me again, Sir Dane. Sorry. Hi again, everyone. Andy here. So I'll just briefly present the TVC project's resource efficiency tool. As mentioned a while ago, as the food that we consume significantly contributes to our carbon footprint, monitoring the sustainability of such an action is crucial if we truly want to mitigate our greenhouse gas emissions. So one way for our hotel and MICE partners to quantitatively track the sustainability from their food purchases is through this resource efficiency tool. So it was created by our international partners, UNEP DTU partnership, and Waste Resources Action Program to be able to create a baseline of greenhouse gas emissions for the tourism sector in the Philippines. So it actually calculates not only the greenhouse gas footprint of food purchases, but also that of energy and solid waste. So other data by the tool are information on guest nights, water and gray water use, and single and multiple use plastic purchases. So what you see on the screen is a snapshot of the data summary page that is shown in the tool when all information is inputted in the tool. So on the bottom part of the page, you can see a graph that charts the animal meat consumption of the establishment throughout the year. And other summary graphs can also be shown depending on which button you click on the left side. So in the next slide, on the screen, you can see a snapshot of a portion of the food purchases tab. So users of the tool can categorize their food items into designated food categories and input the weight of such items in kilograms. So the tool then calculates the greenhouse gas emissions from these food purchases based on the existing emission factors already integrated into the tool, and then calculates the total carbon emissions not just from food purchases, but also the energy consumption and solid waste generation of the establishment. So greenhouse gas emission factors were sourced from credible sources such as Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change Waste Model and their default values for fuel. And then the tool still has room for improvement as a few food categories such as condiments are not yet included, but it's already, the RE tool can already be used. And we also usually encourage our hotel and MICE partners to still include information about such categories for easier incorporation in the future. We're open to introducing the tool further in a private meeting, but for everyone's information, Perceptly provides free training on the use of the RE tool, among other free technical support to its hotel and MICE partners. And we're always welcome to accept new partners year round until the end of the project. So back to you, Sir Edwin.
Thank you, Andy. So to continue, since you have heard already with regards to how you can help with the animal welfare to reduce the sufferings of animals in poultry farms, and then there is also the reduction of greenhouse gases when you have a plant-based meals in your diet. There's also a factor with regards especially to nutrition in plant-based diet. As you can see on the data on the screen, from the 2018 Global Nutrition Report, there are a lot of cases of malnutrition right now in the world. So malnutrition is not only with regards to undernourished, but it's also on stuntedness, on wastedness, and also overweight is also a case of malnutrition. The dietary patterns matter for health and environment. As you can see on the left side, you can see the reduction actually on the risk of diabetes, cancer, coronary mortality, and other cause mortality. If ever you are a vegetarian or doing more plant-based diet, you can see there is a high actually reduction, especially in type 2 diabetes. It's already 40% of reduction. And also there's several reduction when you are in cancer as well. If you're a vegetarian, that's actually 10% reduction in relative risk. And then for coronary mortality, that's around 20% for vegetarians. And then of course for other cause mortality, even if you're on Mediterranean diet or pescatarian diet, there's actually still, most of it actually still is a plant-based diet that can help you reduce other all-cause mortality. And then on the right side, you can actually see computation on the greenhouse gas emission. As you can see on the far right, fish and livestock are actually emitting more greenhouse gas emissions. So as you can see, there is a lesser greenhouse gas emissions for cereals, sugar, oil, fruit, and vegetables compared to fish, livestock. Even dairy and egg has a higher greenhouse gas emissions than fruits and vegetables. And to explain more actually with regards to the benefits of plant-based diet nutrition, I'll be turning you over to our nutritionist, Mr. Jake Brandon Andal. Mr. Jake Brandon Andal is actually a member of Philippine Society of Nutritionists Dietitians Incorporated and part of their board of directors for 2019-20 and also a public relations officer. So Jake?
Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yep, we can hear
Uh, I don't know if I could share my video, no, but it's I'm asking permission pa. But anyway, I think we could start, no. I really like to start my video. I really like to commend Sir Dwayne for discussing the environmental impacts of changing or shifting to a plant-based diet. And now I want to emphasize the other hand, no, or the other spectrum, which is its impact to human health. No? Because we have illustrated earlier how when you reduce your when you reduce your meat consumption, you also reduce carbon footprint, and you also greatly impact your you also greatly impact your contribution to climate change. But on the other hand, on this lecture, I hope everyone will appreciate that if you shift to a plant-based diet, you not only improve your health, but you also save the planet. So just a quick disclaimer, I do not represent any food, health or nutrition company. I won't mention any product supplements, and if they are, it's unintentional and unnecessary. And also, this lecture should not replace medical and nutrition advice from a physician and a dietitian respectively. um, for the past few years, there has been an increased interest in plant-based diets. No, it is evidenced by several medical schools, large medical schools worldwide supporting this initiative, such as the Harvard Medical School and also other respected medical schools internationally as well. There has also been an increase in the production of documentaries and also published um, books about shifting to a plant-based diet, such as In the Defense of Food by Michael Pollan, which is one of the most popular, and What the Health, no, which is available both in Netflix as well as Game Changers. And if we look at the interest of the academia or the scientific community, there has also been an exponential increase in the number of published medical journals regarding plant-based diets, vegetarian diets, and vegan diets. No, as you can see, from 2000 to 2018, there has been really an exponential increase in number of publications. And on the other hand, there has also been an increased support by medical subspecialties promoting the plant-based diet. No? So there's also been the establishment of functional medicine as a medical specialty for healthcare professionals. Also, there has been the establishment of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine in the Philippines. Recently, the Philippine College of Lifestyle Medicine was established as a specialty for physicians and other healthcare professionals practicing their clinical expertise in health. Also, there has also been an increase in number of celebrities announcing that they are plant-based or vegetarian. Most recently, Ariana Grande announced she's vegan. On the other hand, Miley Cyrus is also vegetarian now. And I just want everyone to appreciate that through the academia, through medical societies, through the medical journals published, and through celebrities announcing that they are vegan, there has been an exponential amount of interest by these persons, institutions, and societies. Now, it's really hard to quantify in the local setting about how many are vegans right now in the Philippines, but if you base it on the number of Facebook members of these online platforms, these Facebook groups that is in front of you has been only established for a few years. They started with only 1,000 or less members, and now there are 50,000 or more, and etc. So this just shows that even in the local setting, although we don't have research to back that there has been an exponential increase in number of of plant-based practitioners in the Philippines, um, based on what we could observe from these online platforms, there is there could be a possibility that there is exponential increase. Now, if we talk about the vegetarian research, I got this from the learning library of today's citation. Now, in the United States, according to their vegetarian resource group poll, there had been 2 to 8% of the U.S. population that is practicing vegetarian, and also 16% of those responded reported that they do not consume meat, fish, seafood, or poultry. They stated that they eat many vegetarian meals, but less than half of the time. And also, one third of the US population is consuming vegetarian meals. So when you talk about this in the US context, there is indeed a huge amount of the US population consuming vegetarian meals or choosing vegetarian meals as an option as part of their daily diets. Now, there has been an increased affinity of various institutions towards plant-based diets, initiatives, and programs. No? For example, New Year of Healthcare released a manual of operations in which various hospitals that are members of this consortium will offer plant-based options on a daily basis for their patients. USDA is also supporting this. And also, Meatless Monday, which was started by Michelle Obama, has been adopted by various schools, institutions, restaurants in the United States through the help of the John Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. So on this slide, I just also want everyone to appreciate that institutions indeed have been adopting this initiative as part of their manual operations. And I hope participating hotels in this lecture would follow suit. Now, there's also been the institutionalizing of the term flexitarian in medical journals. So when you talk about flexitarianism or a flexitarian diet, this is a person whose diet is mostly vegetarian but occasionally can include meat, fish, or poultry. So this is very malleable and this is very adaptable to most of us who may not be able to adhere to a vegetarian or a strict vegan diet. And actually, if you just realize that if we follow the recommendations of our health societies in incorporating fruits and vegetables and plant-based proteins in our diet on a daily basis, maybe everyone can be flexitarian. Again, through the John Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, the Meatless Monday has been institutionalized by various schools, hospitals, and food service establishments. Now, when we see in retrospect the type of diets that our ancestors were having, no, or what are the foods that are available to them in their time, there is common features, especially in Asia. No, if you observe their dietary patterns, there is the consumption of local whole grains, local legumes, seasonal cultivated fruits and vegetables, minimally processed food, and low use of animal foods because animal foods at that time was very expensive and is only accessible to the rich. So if you observe our traditional recipes, animal protein is put on these viands or dishes as a recado, no, or something that can increase the taste of the meal but not necessarily the star of the dish or the recipe, no? So this just means that plant-based diets has been accepted or has been practiced way long before it has been institutionalized and studied, no? Specifically in our indigenous traditional diets. The Mediterranean diet pyramid is heavily accepted by various studies in clinical trials, and this diet has been proven to reduce your risk of various diseases such as heart disease, cancer, renal disease, and etc. No? And if we observe this diet, we see that meat, and sweets is consumed less often. In fact, red meats is classified as something similar to sweets or sugar, or it's something advocated to be consumed less in the same amount as sweets. No? So this means that it is consumed in moderation only. So this just shows that maybe um, the consumption of more plant-based options in our diet and less affinity to meats will have great impacts to our health, which we will discuss later. I just want everyone to share this, no, the study created by the environmental working group in which they studied the impact if you reduce your food meat consumption and how can it impact in carbon footprint, no? And if you and the results are alarming because in the United States, for example, in the context of United States, if you eat one less burger per week, it's like taking your car off the road 320 miles, no? So this is what I'm advocating to my patients and clients as well, that if you really want to create an impact to the environment, maybe the focus is not consuming through reusable straws or reusing reusable packaging. Maybe the focus that you can really have a great impact on a daily basis is through your diet. As you can see, if a person of is a if a family with 4 members skips meat and cheese one day a week, it's like taking your car off the road for 5 weeks or shortening everyone's daily shower by 3 minutes. No, with this, you also incorporate the other hand of the picture that if you reduce your meat consumption, you also reduce the water consumption of on a daily basis, no? Because these meats is produced in with a requirement of huge amounts of water, no, in their farms. And this is a great depiction in which how is your food choices impacting your carbon footprint. And as you can see, no, on this slide, the great choices in which you have reduced carbon footprint is your lentils, tomatoes, skimmed milk for those who are vegetarians, beans, tofu, and broccoli. And on the other hand, the worst choices are these, and all of them are animal proteins. No? In retrospect, what I said earlier, the best choices if you really want to reduce your carbon footprint on a daily basis is those of lentils, tomatoes, beans, broccoli, yogurt for vegetarians, and rice. No? As you can see, if you compare the carbon footprint vis-a-vis your car miles driven per 4 ounces consumed, all of which is less than zero point 0.5, no? Car miles. But it's alarming that if you talk about beef, for example, which has been very popular in the Philippines, if as you observe it with the rise of samgyeopsal or Korean barbecue establishments sprouting everywhere in the metro, you see that it's very high. No, it's in fact almost 7 hours of car miles driven per 4 ounces consumed. So we also need to talk about how much protein do we really need? No, because if we talk about a 5'5" sedentary Asian male with no known disease, he might only need 5 servings of meat per day. And these 5 servings can comprise of a serving of meat, which is one matchbox size, a medium piece egg, 1/4 piece of chicken breast, one medium-sized chicken wing, or one cube of pork belly. So the objective of this slide is just to show everyone that although protein malnutrition can be a problem to our country, to Southeast Asia, for low-income populations, but for those living in the metro, for those who have access to food, we might be consuming more than our requirement because if you have good access to food, it's actually easier to consume more than your protein requirements. And consuming more than your protein requirements has a great impact to your carbon footprint, which is very much depicted here, no, at the environmental food pyramid by the Barilla Center. No? As you can see, if you consume beef, cheese, and also red meats, you have the most environmental impact. So based from the dietary guidelines in the United States, no, by the American Nutrition and Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, They on their paper they stated that vegetarian style eating patterns have been associated with improved health outcomes, including levels of obesity, cardiovascular disease, lowering blood pressure, and lowering total mortality. Now, I lifted this slide because obesity, cardiovascular disease, blood pressure, all of this is a public health concern in the Philippines. For example, obesity, especially childhood obesity, has seen exponential increase in the Philippines for the past 10 years for 100%, no, increase in children who are obese. Now, um, with regards to cardiovascular disease, no, encompassing of dyslipidemia, 1 out of 2 Filipino adults have dyslipidemia. And dyslipidemia can lead to low-grade chronic inflammation, increasing your risk of having numerous diseases. Blood pressure has also been increasing with our population. So I just want everyone to appreciate that maybe having affinity to a plant-based diet can reduce our public health concerns, which is also echoed in the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics position paper on vegetarian diets. No, in fact, all of this we will discuss earlier. When you consume majority of your food choices are representative of plant-based sources, you have increased consumption of fiber, magnesium, potassium, vitamin C and E, folate, carotenoids, and phytochemicals, all of which is a prescription for a healthy and productive life. When we talk about minimally processed plant foods, which I have been always mentioning on this lecture, this is high in the quote-unquote good stuff. This is your fiber, vitamins, healthy fats such as your omega-3, phytochemicals, and low glycemic carbohydrates. No, low glycemic carbohydrates clinically is suggested for those people who want to reduce the risk or who want to manage their diabetes. Low in bad stuff such as saturated fat, cholesterol, sodium, food additives such as nitrous compounds, amines, aromatic hydrocarbons, and glycation end products. All of this has been correlated with cancer. No? So on the basic sense, how do we apply a plant-based diet on a daily basis on our daily diets? We just consume your plate similar to this, no? As you can see, vegetables, fruits, and whole grains can comprise almost more than 75% of your plate. And with this, you are echoing the suggestions of a flexitarian diet. With the healthy protein, you could further increase your consumption of plant-based foods by increasing your affinity to beans, nuts, seeds, which all of which are good sources of protein as well. In the local context, you have the Pinggang Pinoy, which is this, no? And I want everyone, especially in the food service industry, to really try to present their meals and dishes similar to this, in which you represent your whole grains, fruits, and vegetables as majority of the plate, no? Because sometimes we focus too much on the protein and we make them as the star of the dish. In fact, I know in menu development, sometimes we start with choosing the best protein, animal protein, and then modifying all of the recipes based from that. And I hope with this lecture, this will change, no? And we give emphasis to vegetables, fruits, and whole grains. America is a meat lover society because on average, an American can consume 45% more than what is recommended. This is 3 times the average consumption in the global setting, and they consume so much of beef. And as we mentioned earlier, beef has one of the most worst environmental impacts when you talk about carbon footprint and meat consumption. For example, I just want also to everyone to realize that if your diet is heavily representative of fast foods, processed foods, and highly processed food choices, it is easier for you to consume more than your requirements of protein and calories. For example, if you are a Filipina with a stature of 5'3" to 5'2", you might be only suggested to consume 5 to 18 calories per day depending on your physical activity. And with a serving of a typical restaurant burger, you already consume 1,150 calories. So that is more than almost like 70% of your requirements in a day just with a consumption of one piece burger. And the same goes with steak, no? 1,390. Majority of the calories consuming from saturated fat. So with this, I just want also everyone to appreciate the use of whole minimally processed foods in their diet. And with this lecture, I hope the restaurants will follow, in which you increase your choices of whole minimally processed foods to your customers. Not only because you want to improve their health, also to improve the planet as well. Now let's talk about the consumption of red meat, processed meat, and cancer. The World Health Organization classifies processed meats, including ham, bacon, salami, frankfurts, all of which are favorite choices, no, for fast food, as a Group 1 carcinogen, no, which is in layman's term, this is known to cause cancer. So, yeah, when we talk about the studies correlating red meat, processed meats to cancer, these are epidemiologic, no? Meaning, for those people who consume red and processed meats at high amounts, they're also the type of population in which cancer is prevalent. So if you compare the people consuming processed meat, red meat, vis-a-vis those who do not, the proportion of cancer is heavily increased on those who consume so much of these foods mentioned. Now, when we talk about the cellular level, the reason why is because nitrates from these foods can be converted to N-nitroso compounds, which can damage your cells, no? Because N-nitroso compounds from these processed foods can react as a reactive oxygen species, or your radicals, which can damage your DNA and cells. And damage DNA and cells, when they continually accumulate, can be converted to a cancer cell, no, or a tumor. So again, I just want to everyone to appreciate this illustration that when we consume nitrates from these foods, we can digest them to become N-nitroso compounds, and N-nitroso compounds can damage your cells, and these damaged cells can aggregate and accumulate to form tumor cells. So basically, we damage our DNA through the exposure to N-nitroso compounds. This is the reason why the Cancer Council of Australia, the World Health Organization, has been heavily advocating the less consumption of these foods mentioned, because again, they have been classified as a group 1 carcinogen. So now we will go down through the positive benefits into in human health if we consume plant-based food options. We start with longevity. No? So according to a study published in Nutrition Epidemiology, no, in the EPIC study, we saw that for those who are consuming fruits and vegetables around 569 grams per day, or this is half kilo, they had the lower risk of death from diseases. No? This evidence is strong because the EPIC study is multi-countrywide with 450,000 participants. On the other hand, there is also an increased study regarding the blue zones. No? So when you talk about the blue zones, we observed that there are 3 places in the world in which the population of people who are greater than 100 years old is prevalent. So this is in Loma Linda in the United States, Sardinia in Italy, and Okinawa in Japan. No? And when we see um, the health and environmental factors that they're exposed to, they have a common denominator in which you could see on this Venn diagram. It is a plant-heavy diet, among others. No? So this just shows that consuming plant-based options can really longer your life expectancy by reducing your risk from diseases. Reducing your weight is a plant-based diet helpful in for people who want to reduce weight. As a matter of fact, in the Philippines, obesity is a problem nowadays, no? Especially for those who are living in the metro. Now, we see on this study published in Nutrition and Diabetes, no, this is a randomized controlled trial, no. So we see that plant-based diets, when given as a treatment option for those who are obese, no, had significant improvements in their body mass index, cholesterol, and other health factors, no. So in fact, there have been greater weight loss at 6 to 12 months, no. And this is not really observed in any other trial with regards to obesity or with targeting lowering your weight. So indeed, based on study, plant-based diets can help in reducing your weight. Now, we talked about oxidative stress and inflammation a while ago. And this is very important because in the middle of in nowadays in the pandemic, because persons who are exposed to inflammation, this is your, when you talk about inflammation in medicine, this is how your inflammatory biomarkers, so these are compounds or hormones in your body which react when when you are exposed to disease, pollution, etc., etc. No? So when your body is experiencing chronic low-grade inflammation due to having disease or being exposed to unhealthy health factors, when when you are exposed to COVID, you have increased chances of having cytokine storm, which is a ticket to the critical side of COVID. No, so this is this is what we observe in the news, wherein people have lung damage and etc. No, so we also see that chronic low-grade inflammation can be observed if your diet is very low in quality, and very low in quality meaning poor in poor in plant-based choices. Now, when you talk about plant-based diets and lowering oxidative stress, we see that phenolic compounds such as phenolic acids, flavonoids, pro-anthocyanidins, which you could get in plant sources, can act as antioxidants for your cells, no? And these compounds are that I mentioned can be sourced from fruits, vegetables, grains, spices, and herbs. All of this could be heavily represented if your diet is plant-based, no? So what happens, or how does these compounds prevent oxidative stress, which we mentioned earlier can destruct your cells, no, or can convert them to tumor cells, no? So as you can see here, that reactive oxygen species can do electron transfer, chain defects in your cells, and then destroy them. No, and what these antioxidants do is they scavenge this reactive oxygen species in a way that they won't target cells anymore. So again, these antioxidants can be greatly sourced in the diet if you are plant-based. Heart disease. Heart disease is one of the top killers in the Philippines and in Asia. Now, we see on this literature review published in the Trends in Cardiovascular Medicine that the characteristics of a healthful plant-based diet, such as lower energy density or lower in calories, high in dietary fiber, appropriate fat composition. So this is your lowered saturated fat and high in the good fats such as your omegas, high levels of antioxidant nutrients, which we mentioned earlier, high levels of micronutrients, and also the lower exposure to dietary factors such as nitrates, no, have been correlated with numerous characteristics such as enhanced glycemic control, enhanced weight maintenance, improved lipid profile, blood pressure, vascular health, decreased inflammation, and improved gut microbiome profile. No? And all of these characteristics all lead to a reduced cardiovascular risk. So in this literature review, which cites numerous and hundreds of studies, the evidence is solid that that a healthful plant-based diet, which is representative of these characteristics, can lead to a reduced cardiovascular risk. Type 2 diabetes, no? Um, Although we experience COVID-19 as the most popular pandemic that we experience, no, diabetes is a pandemic that we have been fighting for decades, and it seems that the situation worldwide is just worsening and worsening and worsening. In the local context, if you see the statistics, again, exponential increase in the number of patients who are diabetes in the Philippines, no? And we see that based on the study from PLOS Medicine, we see that plant-based diets, especially those who are rich in high-quality plant foods, can reduce your risk of type 2 diabetes. No, for example, on this graph, no, we see the uh, your uh, your incidence of death. No, and we see that it is reduced with the healthful plant-based diets or HPDI. No, your risk of death secondary to diabetes and other factors can be greatly reduced if you are in a plant-based diet compared to an unhealthful plant-based diets and in other diets, no, or your standard American diet. Now, cancer risk. Can plant-based diets reduce our risk for cancer? The answer is yes. No, according to the study in cancer management and research, the literature review arrives in a conclusion that specific plant foods such as fruits and vegetables reach and these nutrients can really reduce the risk of cancer diagnosis and recurrence. No? So meaning if you have beaten cancer already, actually you're still at risk of having cancer again. No, but if you are exposed to a plant-based diets, you reduce that risk. So if you see the characteristics of plant-based diets and why can they reduce cancer risk, it's because you eliminate the intake of red processed meats and you aid in achieving a healthy weight. No? And also, there are both direct and indirect evidence that suggests that vegetarian diets are useful strategies in reducing risks of cancers. So meaning, we could incorporate plant-based diets in our treatment options for cancer. Plant-based diets is not a cure for cancer, but it could be part of your treatment along with your medications and other medical procedures. Healthy gut and immune system. No? For the recent years, there have been increased interest in the gut. No? Because if you study the literature, we can now consider our gut as our new organ system, as complex as your cardiovascular system, your nervous system, your endocrine system. No? So, if your gut is an organ system, it could have diseases and it could have treatment options. No? So we see that plant-based diet appears to be beneficial for improving the population of good bacteria that you have. No? So for example, Clostridium and Enterococcus species, which you could observe in those who are sick, is reduced. It can be reduced if you are exposed to a plant-based diet. So again, we now see that based on literature, we can manipulate the amount of good bacteria we have in our gut through diet. No, basically, if we increase plant-based food options in our diet, we increase bifidobacterium, lactobacillus, fecalobacterium, and all of this can improve health outcomes, such as what you see here, and reduce your risk for diseases because again your gut is a new organ system. If you talk about our nerve of diseases in the nervous system, we see that there has been a correlation with regards to the gut and our various nervous system diseases such as your Parkinson's disease. No? So we see that maybe if we adopt a plant-based diet, we reduce our risk of having Parkinson's disease among others. No? As illustrated in this, there is a correlation or there is a relationship. Again, we discussed we discuss about have modulating your gut or your gut system through diets, no, by for example increasing plant-based options, and with this you increase the population, no, of your good bacteria. But what if you are exposed to a Western diet? So this is a diet heavily consuming animal-based options, mm, uh, uh, processed foods, sugars, and etc. You also change your intestinal microbiota, in which you increase your bad bacteria, and all of this can have impacts in your adipose tissues, intestines, and your liver. So this just shows that your intestinal microbiota, as dictated by your diet, can also have a great impact in your endocrine systems. No? Our fat cells is actually an organ, no, which can secrete inflammatory biomarkers, and these inflammatory biomarkers can dictate your risk for diseases, no. So we see that you have bad bacteria in your gut vis-a-vis your good bacteria. You increase TNFA, your tumor necrosis factor alpha, not NFKB, GPR40, GPR43. All of this can lead to insulin resistance, which is a characteristic of diabetes, no. With regards to your intestine, if your microbiota or your population in your gut is heavily representative of bad bacteria, you increase the efficiency of your intestine in extracting energy. And this shows that you will have increased chances of consuming of increased energy absorption, no? So if you hear that, it might be a good characteristic because you could use more energy. But for the most of us, this could lead to increased energy surplus, no? And increased energy surplus can lead to having increased adipocytes, which again can worsen your insulin resistance, and also increase your obesity. And obesity is correlated with cancer. For the liver, again, you can induce changes in your hormones and proteins secreted by your liver, and all of this can also lead to insulin resistance and increased deposition of fat in your liver. A fatty liver is a disease that I have observed in a lot of my patients, no? And the common denominator for them would be again consuming so much of a Western diet. In fact, when you talk about um, a gut microbiota pyramid, so this is a depiction in which it is published in Protective Nutrition Society. No? Um, for example, when we talk about a gut microbiota pyramid, meaning this is a pyramid in which if you follow this, you will improve your gut microbiota flora. No? So this just shows that if you consume, as you go down the pyramid, as you go down these food choices, fruits and vegetables, whole grain, you create microbiota symbiosis. So symbiosis, just means that you are in good harmony. The amount of good bacteria vis-a-vis your bad bacteria is in good harmony. No, so you are heavily representing good bacteria in your gut. No? As you go down the pyramid, as you consume fruits and vegetables, you increase symbiosis. But as you steer away from the pyramid, you create dysbiosis. So actually, microbiota dysbiosis we see nowadays as a major risk factor in acquiring chronic lifestyle diseases, cancer, and other diseases such as Parkinson's disease and etc. No, before we in medicine, it's only studied that there are 8 factors in which diabetes can be 8 risk factors in which diabetes can progress. No, but now it's 11. No, and one of the additions would be the microbiota. So maybe this just shows that maybe the reason why most of us gets diabetes is because of the dysbiosis, among other factors. Brain protection. We mentioned earlier that you reduce the risk of your nervous system diseases if you have good microbiota. And this is heavily illustrated with numerous studies being published showing the relationship of your gut-brain axis, gut-brain microbiota axis. So meaning if it's an axis, they are interconnected. No? So nowadays we see that hormones, especially those relevant to mental health, also relevant to nervous system diseases, um, can be managed, co-managed if a plant-based diet is applied to these patients. Um, so this just means that reducing your risk for these diseases um, can be really observed if you consume plant-based diets. No? So the relationships of our brain, our hormones, food intake, and our gut is still an unexplored forest. No? So we still need further studies exploring the mechanisms, but in retrospect, epidemiologic studies are showing that plant-based diets maybe can be used as a preventive and therapeutic strategy in managing or reducing your risk of brain diseases. This is a study very recently published, no, 2020. Kidney health, no? Can you reduce your risk of having chronic kidney disease if you consume plant-based proteins? The answer is yes. Why? Because we mentioned earlier that it's easy for us to consume more than our requirements in protein. And it is also a heavier burden for our kidneys if we consume most of our choices from animal-based options. What happens is with high protein intake, with high animal protein intake, you increase interglomerular pressure of your kidneys, and because of this you increase GFR, and what it does is it heavily compensates by having increased function, and through time it will deteriorate, no? So I know for the people who are listening, you have heard about GFR before, especially if you have someone in your household who is experiencing chronic kidney disease, or you know someone who is having this condition. No? So it is a measure of function by your kidneys, right? So you see here that with high protein intake, you increase GFR. Is that a good thing? Initially, yes. But through time, this heavily compensated increase in GFR will affect your nephrons in your kidneys, and it will lead to death of your nephrons. So nephrons is the functional unit of your kidneys. So along with consuming so much animal protein, there are also components of uh, animal protein that leads to an increased burden to our kidneys. So this is increasing your dietary acid load secondary to consuming animal-based protein, increasing so much of your phosphate content in your diet, microbiome dysbiosis, as I mentioned earlier, which is correlated, which is um, in relationship with other organs as well, and inflammation. All of this we observe if we consume so much animal protein, and this leads to your decreased function of your nephrons. Now, how do we develop a plant-based diet? No? So this could we can discuss this further later, but again, the food choices that is presented in front of you, I hope you will be able to incorporate in your institutions, in your restaurants, and in your food service. One of the This is something that I observed in my patients now, that one of the hindrance that they see um, in following a plant-based diets for them is because they think that beans can cause gout, because this is something that is very rampant when you ask your elders, no, or people who are experiencing gout. They think that beans is contraindicated for them because beans can increase your uric acid in the blood, which can cause inflammation in your joint. But if you see the literature and the evidence, beans do not cause gout. And actually, beans can maybe help in managing uric acid or hyperuricemia by reducing inflammation. Because as we mentioned, plant-based foods such as plant-based proteins can reduce inflammation. inflammation in our bodies. When we compare the amount of purines, so purines is converted to uric acid in the blood, no? The amount of purines that beans and seeds contain vis-a-vis your cooked meat per gram, beans have a less amount of purine. No? So this just means that beans is not it could not cause too much consumption of your purines. If you really want to manage your gout, reduce your risk of animal protein and increase your affinity with plant-based protein options. Loma Linda University released this vegetarian food pyramid, and this, based on studies, can really help various lifestyle diseases such as hyperuricemia, what we mentioned earlier. And again, if you see this depiction, there is increased affinity for fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, and soy. So this is your plant-based proteins. No? In this visual representation, those at the bottom is something that is suggested in greater magnitude, meaning you have to consume them daily in your diet. No? And as you can see here, legumes and soy is classified something similar as your whole grains. No? So it's really suggested for you to consume them on a daily basis, along with other factors such as exercise, water, sunlight. Adequate protein. Now, coming from a biochemistry perspective, this is also my research. No, it's saddening for me to hear that healthcare professionals and other uh, dieters consider plant-based protein as inferior with your animal protein because you have increased utilization, you have increased absorption with your animal protein versus plant protein. But this make plant-based protein inferior, an inferior choice? No, because not only an plant-based protein can still give you amino acids that your body needs, this is also packed with fiber, micronutrients, phytochemicals, which is absent in your animal protein. And if you ask me, this can make plant proteins as a superior choice vis-a-vis your plant-based animal sources because you don't get these nutrients other than protein. And in fact, if you see studies, no, if the patient's intake is adequate in a plant-based protein, in a plant-based diet, utilization and absorption is not that relevant. Meaning, it could be the same, no, in retrospect vis-a-vis your animal proteins. No? Whole grains and also plant-based proteins can give you so much protein. In fact, 6 grams of protein per half cup. So if you compare this to animal other sources, no, it is almost similar to one matchbox size. Almost similar. Vegetables can also contain protein, but we don't consider vegetables really as a major source of your protein. So they can just add, no, a protein in your diet, a certain amounts of protein in your diet. And this just shows that again, adequacy in protein is achievable in a plant-based diet. We have to debunk the idea that plant-based proteins will not give you adequate protein, will not give you adequate utilization, and will not give you adequate absorption because this has been long debunked by various studies. These are some plant-rich foods that I hope your institutions can incorporate in your meals, snacks, and offerings in your food services. No? Lentils, black beans, pinto beans, chickpeas. No? I'm very happy that I saw the ANR in this lecture because I work also as a consultant in their advocacies for plant-based diets. No? And it's very exciting that all of these can be converted to meet your placements. No? Peas, artichoke, spinach, quinoa, oatmeal, seeds such as your flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, chia seeds, all of which are great sources of protein, similar to your animal sources. Nuts such as peanut butter, almonds, pistachios, hazelnuts, walnuts, something that you could put in your desserts, can also give you good sources of protein. So again, protein adequacy and utilization can be achieved with a plant-based diet. Some nutrients of concern that we will discuss before I end my lecture. So nutrients of concern meaning this might cause deficiency if you don't apply appropriate plant-based diets. No, so for example, number one, calcium. If if the diet is if the plant-based diet is not as healthy, the food choices, although plant-based is not of high quality, then you might have a nutrient concern for calcium. No, so to just prevent calcium deficiency, if you don't consume dairy, consume fortified foods when you go to the market, and also consume plant-based milk alternatives because most of the time they're already fortified with calcium. Tofu can also be a great source of calcium as well as fortified orange juice. Consuming at least one serving of dark green leafy vegetables can greatly boost your calcium intake per day. And talk to a physician or a dietitian if you need a calcium supplement. No, so this could be a concern for those in geriatrics or those who are in menopausal stage already. But does this mean that calcium is not a nutrient of concern in your standard American diet or your standard Western diet? No, because regardless of what your diet is, if you don't adhere to proper food choices, nutrients of concerns will still be there. Vitamin D. So vitamin D is also a nutrient of concern for plant-based diets as much as it is in your typical diets. No? If you don't consume dairy, you might be required to take a supplement, and I hope you consult this with your healthcare provider. And this could be boosting your vitamin D utilization in the body. Um, can be also observed if you have at least 10 minutes of sunlight exposure per day. This could be a hindrance because we are in quarantine, no? So maybe what you could do based also from studies is you could just expose your hand or your feet in the sun for 10 minutes in a day, and this could already give you the prescribed amount of UV to convert your cholesterol in the skin to vitamin D. Fortified foods is everywhere in the supermarkets, which I hope you can um, adhere or you can put in your daily diets as well to prevent vitamin D deficiency. Because in the Philippines, this is a concern, no? Especially for women, based on the recent study published by the Food and Nutrition Research Institute, which is ironic because we are a tropical country. We have the most sun exposure in a day, but based on our behavior, we don't consume as much dairy, we don't consume foods rich in vitamin D, and we don't get exposed to sun most of the time because we work in the office or we choose to stay indoors throughout the day. Vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 is something that you could get majority from your animal proteins. In fact, vitamin B12 is really majorly sourced from animal protein. So this could be a nutrient of concern if you omit that in your diet. But does this mean that you can't achieve adequacy in vitamin B12 if you don't consume meat? No, because there are supplements that vegans are suggested to take, which include vitamin B12, and there are numerous fortified products such as cereal, soy milk, nutritional yeasts that are huge sources of vitamin B12. So although you don't consume or you don't get vitamin B12 from the top sources such as your fish, meats, red meats especially, adequacy can still be achieved through supplementation and also through incorporating fortified foods rich in vitamin B12. If you don't thank you very much for this opportunity, and it's really nice to meet everyone virtually, no? I hope I meet everyone soon. Now if for the interest of time you may hindi questions may not be entertained, you could go to my Facebook page. It's at Jake Andal Clinical Dietitian and send me a message there. And also, you could reach me to my number and my email. So again, thank you very much, Health Society, Humane Society International, for this.
Thank you very much, Jake. So we'll have now a 5-minute break before we turn you over to one of our nutritionists also who would elaborate more on plant-based nutrition as well. So let's just have a 5-minute break to stretch and to rest for a while before we have another hour of nutrition seminar. I would like to remind again the attendees, if ever you have questions, feel free to type in the Q&A and would be happy to answer them. If ever we will not be able to answer some of them, then we'll be sending the answers through email after the webinar as well. So I'll introduce you now to our next speaker. Our next speaker is an assistant treasurer of the board of directors of the Philippine Society of Nutritionists, Dietitians Incorporated, and also a faculty member in the UP Diliman. So I'd like to introduce Assistant Professor Luz Felicidad S. Calianta. Ma'am
Thank you
Luchi.
very much. Thank you very much, Wayne. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Everyone? Yes. Okay, so you can hear me. May I share screen now, please? Okay, I will share screen. So hang on lang, please, while I am doing this. Let me just give a shout out to our, sandali ha, not that one. Teka muna, teka muna, teka muna. Where? Wait lang, wait lang. Stop share. Okay, let me share screen again. This one. Okay, share. There you go. Yeah. So I'd like to give a shout out to our attendees to this webinar. And I am very happy to see a good friend of mine, Tawi. You're here, Dr. Tawi Luna from the Center for Culinary Arts. And in fact, Dwayne has already answered her question. So Tawi, I hope that you were satisfied with that answer. And it's so good to see you. And I'm also happy to note that at the start of the webinar, you were told that our presentations will be shared with you. We are very happy to share these with you. If it will be of any help to you, then we will be more than happy, more than glad to share this with you. Now, I will be the last speaker, I think. So at the moment, we have already established that going plant-based has a great impact on the environment, on our health. See, Sir Jake has expounded on this in great detail. And now, what I am tasked with is to make it a little bit more practical. So I will talk about nutrition, basic nutrition, what I like to call nutrition 101. Now, I like to look at health in a holistic way. So guys, if you used your 5 minutes to still sit down, I would encourage you to please stand up and move, because you're not supposed to sit down longer than 1 hour, and we have been sitting down for 1 hour. Okay, so let us start. Why am I showing this? Because non-communicable diseases is actually what Jake was talking about in great detail earlier. So it accounts for about 73% of total deaths. And by the year 2020, which is now, 60% of disease burden by 2020. So ang ating tinitignan ngayon ay how to go about, making sure that NCDs or non-communicable diseases do not hit us. Okay? So the new smoking daw is, ayan, sabi ko nga sa inyo, di ba? Gumalaw kayo, because the new smoking is a disease, a condition that is called the sitting disease. Oh, nako. Okay. So why aren't we healthy? So many reasons, guys, What are all of these reasons? Like this one, very poor food choices, okay? Even going to the internet and searching for diets, that is also a cause for why we are not healthy. Jake was very emphatic earlier that even after all of this that we will share with you, it will help if you actually consult both a physician and a dietitian nutritionist. Okay? And of course, this one, palagi lang nakaupo. Okay? So, kailangan natin gumalaw-galaw. Sabi nga ng DOH, galaw-galaw para hindi pumanaw. Something like that. That was like 2 years ago. So, what is this? This is your Sustainable Development Goals. Okay? And when we talk about nutrition, it falls under number 3. So how many are there? There are 17 Sustainable Development Goals that were set up by the World Health Organization. And number 3, Okay, so may number 1, may number 2, and then number 3 na andyan po ang nutrition. Good health and well-being. So what does that just tell you? That it is a very important, it is something that the World Health Organization is truly looking into. Okay? So, what do they say? Promote health, keep the world safe, and serve the vulnerable. Okay. So the Philippines has a crisis on NCDs. In a statement of the National Academy of Science and Technology of the Philippines in its 37th annual scientific meeting, eto ang sinabi nila: cigarette smoking, unhealthy eating, lack of exercise causes all of this, which was already discussed in great detail. Ang sabi din po ng DOH that 1 in every 3 Filipinos die of NCDs before the age of 70. Ayoko pong maging itong isang 1 na ito. No? So sabi ni Secretary Francisco Duque III, the NCD crisis is a perfect storm that threatens to undermine all the progress we have made in recent years and the dreams of all Filipino families for our country. Okay, so I am speaking here to our restaurateurs and our hoteliers. No? So you also play a role in making sure that our citizenry will eat healthily. Okay, and I'm very happy that you guys are here listening, no, and hopefully be able to apply all of this in your own setting. So what can we do? Meron po ako ipapakita sa inyo. Okay, so since we're talking about non-communicable diseases, we talk of 4 diseases. And like I said earlier, medyo ito po ay napag-usapan na ni Sir Jay. Pero tingnan niyo po, no? Ay, sorry. Napindot ko lang ho. Tingnan niyo po, no? Unhealthy diets, okay, has an effect on the 3. Cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and cancer. Okay? Ang tobacco use, lahat ng 4, ang physical inactivity and harmful use of alcohol, just like unhealthy diets, also plays a big role. Okay? So ang atin hong pag-uusapan is what comprises a healthy diet. Meron pong mga tools na ipinalabas ng mga ating mga government agencies, no? Ito po ay galing sa National Nutrition Council. Ito ay ang 10 kumainments. Ang cute, di ba? So 10 kumainments po ito na parang siya guidelines. Actually, they are our guidelines. Okay? So kumain ng iba't ibang pagkain, sa unang 6 months ni baby, breastfeeding lamang, kumain ng gulay at prutas. Ayan po, kumain ng gulay at prutas araw-araw. Okay? Ayan. So, andyan po yan. Tapos, meron pong pinakita din kanina ng Pinggang Pinoy, which is your healthy food plate for Filipinos. So, kumuha lang po kayo ng plato, tapos i-divide ninyo into 4, diba? Tapos po, ang tingnan ninyo na ang 1/4 po nito ay ang atin plant-based. Okay? So, ito po, plant-based. So, if you're going totally vegan, ito po, papalitan natin na instead of fish, kasi kung fish, sabihin niya pescatarian, ito po kasi ang linabas ng NNC at saka ng FNRI. So, ito po, no, pwede natin palitan itong grow ng mga choices na binigay kanina ni Sir Jake. Okay? So, I will remind you how we are going to share this. So, if you're busy taking down notes, you don't have to because we will share this with you. Correct, Dwayne, no? Baka nagsasabi ako dito na hindi pala ninyo gagawin. Dwayne?
Yep, we will share it, Ma'am Gucci.
Okay, so, inano niya ako. Idagdag-agree na siya, i-share natin to. So, eating correctly. You don't have to eat less. You just have to eat right. Okay? It should be complete, balanced, and varied. Okay? Para po lahat ng nutrients na kailangan ng ating katawan ay nakukuha natin. Okay? Pero tignan po natin to, no? Complete, balanced, and varied. Ang isa po dyan ay in moderate amounts, no? Kasi maaari po siyang healthy. Pero paano po kung sumusobra naman ng ating kinakain? So pwede po natin gamitin itong visual hand guide to portion sizes. Of course, if you're working in a restaurant, I do not know what you will use for portioning out the food. But if you are at home, let us say, this is something that you can use, okay? So usually, no, you hold up your hand like this, and this is your palad, no? And then you put the food there. And what we say is, you should be able to close your fingers around it. So it's what? It's a fist. Isang kamao. Bawal pong manghiram ng palad ng iba, ha? At saka, huwag kayong kukuha ng palad, halimbawa, ni Manny Pacquiao kasi malaki yon. Sarili nyo pong palad. Okay. Kaya nga ang sinasabi, portion distortion. No? In the last 50 years, we have seen plates, drinks. Look at the drinks, di ba? Yun sinasabi nga sa mga ibang restaurants na go large. Okay? Mga cup holders, yung servings, anong tawag nila doon? Venti ba yun, no? Hindi kasi ako bumibili ng gano'n, pero venti yata ang tawag nila doon. So servings and ourselves all get larger. And when we get larger, we are more prone to, getting all of those non-communicable diseases. Okay, trans fat-free by 2023, sabi nga again ng World Health Organization, only your heart will know the difference. Okay, so here are some examples of foods with trans fats. Okay, hindi po, ano kung napapansin nyo, wala akong gulay dyan, wala akong prutas dyan. No? So, eto ang mga examples. And also, foods, kasi kung titignan po nito, meron po isang gulay, yung French fries, no? So bakit nasama dyan ang French fries? Kasi how are French fries cooked? They are fried, deep fried. And Dr. Janet Stanford, who is the co-director of the Hutchinson Center's program in research, says high temperature deep frying can really change the constitution of the food. So it produces chemicals that can be damaging to DNA. Okay, so as much as you can, do not consume deep fried foods. Okay, so choose foods low in saturated and trans fats such as nuts, no? And noodles. Bakit po sinabi the real kind, no? Isa pong mahilig na ibigay ng ating mga local government units na ayuda ay ang mga noodles, di ba? So, hindi ko sinasabi na hindi po yun real, pero pagka niluluto na po natin, medyo po hindi na po siya nagiging sing-healthy. No? Lalo na kung ginagamit natin yung mga little packets of seasonings. Okay? So, ano pa? And the reason for this, because if you take in high cholesterol over a long time, no, this is what can happen to you. And Sir Jake has been able to talk to you about this in greater detail. So what about salt? Reducing salt intake to less than 5 grams per day, which is about 1 teaspoon, will save around 2.5 million lives every year. Okay? Now, salt lang yan, but actually what you want to do is to reduce your sodium intake. Just so happens that salt is the pinaka-readily available at saka pinaka-easy, no, na source ng sodium. So, sinasabi natin salt. Pero sa atin, sa mga Pilipino, kayo po na mga nagluluto, alam niyo iba pang mga pwede natin pagbuhaan ay ang patis, ang toyo, no, yun mga pake-pakete nga ng mga seasonings. Okay? So, reduce lang. No? Reduce lang. So, in order to do that, learn how to use herbs and spices. Since I am talking here to people who are in the restaurant industry, I am sure that you know all about this. You know how to flavor your food so that your meals have lower sodium content. Okay? What is this mindless eating. Sabi ko nga, it's nutrition 101 eh. It is not just about basic nutrition. Okay? What is this mindless eating? This is when you have so many distractions when you eat. Okay? So much so that oftentimes hindi ninyo napapansin na, uy, naugs ko na yung pagkain, no? Hindi man lamang ninyo natikman yung kinakain ninyo. Okay? So what I say is, if you are going to eat, make sure that there are no distractions, no? Kaya nga nagkaroon ng bagong movement, yung slow food movement, no? That you take the time to eat. You know, guys, I don't know if you realize this, but your brain is kind of slow. What do I mean by that? Your brain is slow to register fullness. Okay? It takes 20 minutes for your brain to tell you, hey, I'm full. You're full already. Stop eating. Okay? More often than not, you know, fast foods, no? You're done eating, or else you're working in whatever office, no? And lunch break happens, and you'd rather maybe sleep kesa sa kumain, or, you know, spend so much time on your lunch break. So you get done in 10 minutes. Hindi pa nagre-register yung brain ninyo na puno ka na. So anong gagawin nyo? You know, it has been found out you kinda graze. Parang baka. Sorry, no? Pero parang kayo naghahanap ng pagkain pa. Kasi hindi pa kayo busog sa brain ninyo. Okay? Then, nakahanap kayo ng mga kakainin ninyo. Then, 20 minutes hits. Ay, sasabihin ninyo sa sarili ninyo, hindi ko na lang sana kinain yung last na yun. Okay? Mindless eating tells you you should see what you eat so that you can you can gauge how much you are eating there. So ito yung sinabi ko, 20 minutes. When we eat too fast, our body does not have to have time to recognize signals. And there is a Japanese practice called harahachibu, which is eat until you're only 80% full. Okay? Ang mga Pilipino usually will eat until they are 100% and more full. Okay. So, eat fruits and vegetables, of course, rich in antioxidants. And Jake has already talked to you in great detail about this, but I will just say that, yes, he's correct. Fruits and vegetables are the main source of antioxidants. It's mostly plant-based. Okay, so how do you aim for more? Like I said, no, a practical application of what Sir Jake talked about. Aim for variety and let colors guide you. What can you say? Eat a rainbow, no? Hindi lang puro green, hindi lang puro red. It has to be a rainbow of colors. Okay? Yes, white, no? And then green, yellow, purple, red, orange. And look, no, you go to the market, you will see all of these colors. So why not use them? Okay? So increasing fruits and vegetable consumption can reduce the risk to non-communicable diseases. And again, no, we already talked about this in great detail when we were listening to Sir Jake. Okay? Okay. So, ang WHO, sabi niya 5 to 9 servings. Tayo, dito sa, ang FNRI or the Food and Nutrition Research Institute says 2 to 3 servings. Okay? Ang kinakain lang ng average ang average Filipino intake ay less than 2 servings per day. So, it's alarming, no? Kasi if you think about the WHO guideline, you should actually eat vegetables in every meal. Diba? 5 to 9. Okay. Now, we are in the midst of a pandemic. Okay? And we are always hearing about how we are supposed to increase our immune system. And there are actually certain nutrients that we have to give attention to, or in this case, priority, because these are the nutrients that are going to increase your immune system. Okay? So vitamin A, vitamin E, B6, vitamin C, and then the minerals zinc and selenium. Okay, vitamin E is important for the vitamin A pala, sorry, is important for the health of tissues of our mouth, our stomach, intestines, and lungs. Okay, so where do we get that? Look at the tayo, no? I don't know about you, okay? You've all gone through high school, but it was always parang taught to us that if it's vitamin A, it's just the orange ones. It's just those vegetables and fruits that are colored orange. Hindi po, tignan niyo po ito. The dark green vegetables are also rich in vitamin A. Okay? So ito po ang mga iba't ibang sources. Lahat po siya ay plant-based. Hindi ko na po iisa-isahin kasi po makukuha nyo naman ito. Pero kung titignan nyo po, lahat po ito ay available sa Pilipinas. I would like to see your menus, no? Take flight and incorporate itong mga usually hindi naman natin sinasabi na pang mahirap, pero you know, you talk about talbos ng kamote or malunggay or saluyot, okay? And you won't, normally you will not see that in a 5-star restaurant, but I would like to challenge you to make use of it. It's here. It's available to us. Okay? I love pako salad. Okay, vitamin E, it serves as antioxidants. Ayan na naman yung antioxidant na yan, ano? Napaka-importante po yan. And I don't remember what Jake called them, but I call them soldiers of our bodies. Why? Because they destroy, they fight against free radicals. Ang free radicals po ay normal yan na meron tayo. Okay? Because we don't live in a vacuum. We live in an environment which makes free radicals in our bodies. Okay? But then again, if you think about it, no, on a normal daily basis also, the antioxidants will just take away these free radicals and sweep them away from our body. But then there are some cases when it will accumulate. Okay? Pollution is one of them. All right. So, and the food that you eat is also one of them. So vitamin E is very important. Look at all of those choices. Okay? And ayan po siya. Okay? Naalala nyo kanina na ando ng saluyot? Tingnan nyo po, naandyan po ulit ang saluyot. Andyan po ulit ang talbos ng kamote. Andyan ulit ang malunggay. No? Napakasustansya po nila. Okay, next is vitamin B6. Important again for our immune system. Okay? And here are the choices that we have. Okay? At napapansin niyo po, no? You don't need animal-based sources. Okay? These all come from plants. Now, vitamin C. Meron lang ho akong sasabihin tungkol sa vitamin C. This is one vitamin that you really will not find in animals. They are plant-based. They're only sourced from plants. And one thing about vitamin C though is medyo sensitive siya. Sensitive siya sa heat at sa light. So just make sure lang na kung ano man ang inyong prepare, hindi nyo masyadong lulutuin kung pwede. And look at all of my choices. Wala dyan po kailangan lutuin. No? So you get the vitamin C, kumbaga, straight from the source. Ayan po ang ating mga choices. So hindi lang po kalamansi o kaya oranges, naandyan din po ang bayabas. Ang bayabas po, no? Mayaman ho yan sa vitamin C. So sinabi ko na po, di ba, na medyo hindi siya masyadong matibay sa heat. So as much as possible, hindi yan yung lulutuin para sa sinigang. So kakainin na lang sana. At saka, ang mayaman po sa vitamin C, yung maliliit na bayabas, hindi yung mga giant na nakikita natin na binebenta. Okay? So, actually, yung mayaman sa vitamin C, yung talagang ginagamit natin para sa sinigang. Okay. Zinc. Again, look at that. Immune system. No? Nuts. That's where you get zinc. Okay? So, ayan siya. Yung mga tuyong butong gulay. Okay? Tokwa, pangalawang beses na po yata yan nag-appear, no? And oatmeal po, no? Wag naman po yun, iisang klase lang ng pag-prepare ng oatmeal. That we need to have variety also in our preparation. And of course, selenium, andyan na naman po, antioxidant. And look at one of the best source, mushrooms, no? Iba't ibang varieties of mushrooms, and I'm sure as people who work in the kitchens, in hotels and restaurants, you have 101 ways of preparing mushrooms. Okay, so ito po ang ating mga sources. So ayan po ang mga nutrients na kailangan natin para po ang ating immune system ay hindi na compromise, lalo na ngayong panahon ng COVID-19. Okay? So sinasabi nga, di ba kanina sinabi ko nga na ang sabi sa WHO, you have to eat 5 to 9 servings of vegetables. May rule po sila, yung 5 a day. Okay? Pero ang FNRI nga, 2 to 3 servings. Nare-realize yata ng FNRI na medyo mahirap po i-meet ang 5 servings a day. Okay? Now, also, make sure then, if meron condition like diabetes, kailangan din po ninyong bantayan na yung fruit intake niya ay still within the yung kanyang total carbohydrate intake. So, ayan, change your plate kasi nga iba't ibang kulay ng gulay. Kung red, hindi ba, meron commercial dati na anong makukuha mo sa ketchup, diba? Lycopene, kasi yun yung kulay red. So, ano ang makukuha ninyo dito sa pula ay iba rin sa makukuha ninyo sa purple, sa mga orange, etc., etc. Okay. So, you want to eat foods high in fibers such as oats, whole grain breads, and look at that, kamote, no? Kamote chips instead of potato chips. Diba? That will be so much better. And we all know what the health benefits of fiber are. If you are same age as me, you already have memorized why fiber is very important. Okay? So, ayan po siya. It's just so useful to have fiber in your diet. Okay? And then, do not go white as much as possible. Go may kulay. Okay, so you have pasta here, and it will be nice if you can get pasta that's colored. Meron ng pasta na colored green, color orange, di ba? Kasi ginagamitan po ng kulay. Okay. Ayan. Minsan po, nakakalimutan natin, dito pa naman sa atin where we are living in, no? It's very hot and very humid. So drink up, okay? Huwag tayong makakakalimot na uminom. Ilan ba ang kailangan natin na tubig? Usually, kung face-to-face, sasagot kayo sa akin. And usually, ang sagot niyo ay 8 glasses of water. Laos na po ang 8 glasses of water. We talk of liters already, okay? We talk of 3 liters, no, more or less. A little more for males and a little, about 3 liters for women. So, hindi po yan 8 glasses. That's about 12 glasses throughout that day. Okay? And you will know if you're drinking enough by the color of your urine. Okay? So, the darker the urine, the more dehydrated you are. Okay. You have to maintain your desirable body weight. Sabi ko nga, this is Nutrition 101. Look at the heart of an obese person. It is wrapped in fat. Because being overweight and obese can lead to all of those diseases that Sir Jake talked about earlier, and yun mga non-communicable diseases that I was talking about at the start of this lecture. Okay? So now, challenges for plant-based eating. Okay? Again, this is going to be a repeat siguro of what Jake talked about. There are some misperceptions such as, are we getting enough protein if we just eat plants? Yes, sabi ni Jake, diba? And calcium intake, yes. More food preparation required. Okay? No. Okay? I am sure that kayang-kaya yan. It's, sometimes, you know, what happens is that meron resistance. Why? Because it is something new. Okay? So it is now up to you, as those who are managing restaurants and hotels, to motivate your crew, no, to embrace the idea that cooking plant-based foods does not, you know, it's fine, it's easy to do, and is very doable. Lack of cooking skills regarding beans, whole grains, and tofu, pwede naman pag-aralan yan, di ba? Unfamiliarity with new foods, ayan, such as tofu and tempeh and seitan. So that, again, it is up to you already to familiarize themselves, no? Bring in some samples into your kitchen and show them how it is done. Ito, pinakita na po ito kanina ni Sir Jake, so hindi ko na yan pag-usapan. And also this one also was discussed in great detail, no? Hindi pala, pwede pala, okay? Yon. And ito, start the day right. Okay. Not every one of us are vegan. I'm not a vegan, okay? But I am a flexitarian, okay? That means that mostly I eat fish. I love fish, okay, and seafoods. So you can go slowly. Okay, you start the day right. Go veggie at breakfast. Okay, so breakfast muna. Then join the Meatless Monday bandwagon. Si Dwayne talked about this earlier. Just go meatless for one day. Doesn't have to be Monday. Just sounds nice, eh, di ba? Meatless Monday. No? Alang naman meatless Tuesday. Doesn't go well, di ba? Pero it can be any day of the week. Now, shop for plants first. I think Jake also said this. When you plan your menu, you usually start with the protein that comes from animals. So why don't you plan it around plants? Okay? Mamaya ipapakita ko sa inyo how you can get more protein. If you eat meat, okay, use it as a seasoning. So what is the star of your plate? Usually, if you're not vegan or vegetarian, your meat is the star. So now I am telling you, don't use meat as the star. Make it a seasoning. No, what becomes the star is your plants, your fruits, your vegetables. Create a plant-based pantry list, okay? Which means that parang gumawa lang kayo ng listahan para meron kayong pagbabasehan pag gumagawa na kayo ng inyong menu. And then get cooking. Plan at least one night a week to try a new vegetarian recipe. You know, guys, all you have to do is get online and type in vegan recipes. So, mahululunod kayo sa dami ng choices ng mga recipes na ito. And you know what? Try. You might fail. It might not be good, but at least you give it a try. Try and try again. Okay. Keep it simple. Okay? It doesn't have to be one that will require so much preparation nga. Okay? Try ethnic flair. Okay, so dito sa atin sa Pilipinas, ang mga Ilocanos are the ones who are very well known for eating a lot of vegetables. Diba? Kaso sila rin ang meron bagnet. No? So mahirap naman yun. No? Pero pwede na natin kuhanan ng mga ideas from our regions, no? All over, meron yan. Diba? Sa Bicol, meron tayong mga lahaing na it doesn't have to have any meat, no? Sa Ilocos nga, what? You cannot make minakbet na walang karne? Of course you can. Okay? Ayun ang ibig sabihin nitong last one. Convert your favorite dishes. So instead of having a meat-based lasagna, why not have a pure vegetable lasagna? Okay? The idea is experiment. Try new things. Okay. Ano pa? Dust off your slow cooker. Ito kung meron kayo, no? Ilalagay lang ninyo yung mga ingredients, turn it on and leave it. Diba? Okay, eto, try plant-based dairy products kasi yung mga vegan, they cannot drink milk either because of milk coming from an animal. Okay, and think yes. Do not dwell on what you cannot have. Think about what you can have. Okay, forget about what you're going to miss because you're going to try something new, and that's exciting. Don't you think so? It's very exciting to try something new. Now, here are some ideas about how to talk about being vegan. Okay, uh, you know, sometimes even within a family, ang hirap na pupunta ka sa isang gathering, tapos silang lahat kumakain ng meat, tapos ikaw hindi. And not all of these plant-powered conversations go well. Okay? So here are some ideas. Maintain focus. Most people are opposed to animal cruelty. So it is important to keep the focus of your conversation on what you have in common. Again, no, don't push it. Okay, there is a tendency that if you push being vegan, you are going to push the people away. Okay, keep it simple. Yan nga. When you're talking to someone who is non-vegan, they can get defensive, arguments can erupt, and friendships can even be broken. Okay? Keep it simple lang and personal. What was your reasons for becoming vegan? Okay? And then if they have any questions, then let them ask it. No? If they don't have any questions, let it be. Okay? Sabi nga dito, always be the vegan that you would have wanted to meet before you were vegan yourself. Maraming beses na po ako na naging engaged in a conversation with what we call a diehard vegan, no? And kapag hindi po maganda ang kaniyang pag-introduce ng topic, nawawala ang audience niya unti-unti. Okay. Do not expect them to change. Okay? Maybe they will, but not as soon as you have talked to them. Okay? So, talk, and then the rest is up to them. Make it personal. Use I statements instead of you. Okay? I saw a video. I just do not want to support cruelty. I found out it's actually healthier. Okay? Don't point the finger at the person. That becomes a you statement. And don't talk while eating. Okay? Nobody likes to hear negative things about their food. Let it just come up naturally or wait until you are asked a question. Okay? Yeah. You will find out that when it is the other person who broaches the topic, then their reaction to your answer is so much better. Okay? Now, if someone does ask you a question, tell him that you will answer him after the meal. Okay. Put yourself in their shoes. What is this called? This is called empathy. Okay? So, think about the person you are talking to and put yourself in their shoes so that when you talk, no, your perspective will be from their point of view and not from yours. Remember, you're talking to someone who has a whole different value system, who has a whole different perspective on what you have already, is already part of your way of life. And never feel ashamed. Okay? Don't allow them to make you feel ashamed about your choice. Okay. The last one, knowing when to walk away. Okay? So, if you end up arguing, it's a waste of time. So, just tell them that you have said your piece and then walk away with your head held high. Okay. Now, sorry. Ito pala, ang last one. And I think it's the very important one. Let the food do the talking. No? Wow them with vegan cuisine. So that is now your role as the restaurateur or the hotelier, no? These are all vegan foods, all of this on the screen. And, if you can come up with really wonderful foods, then it's not just the appearance, but the proof of the pudding is in the eating, right? So if when you eat it and it tastes good, it doesn't have to taste like a burger. It doesn't have to taste like the quote unquote normal pizza, but it might even taste better, diba? Okay, so uh, I remember I was in a party, and uh, she was serving fried chicken. She was serving fried chicken, and my children were eating it, and they said that it did not taste like fried chicken. Ayun pala, it was uh, vegetarian food that was shaped like chicken, like the drumstick of the kitchen. For me, why do you have to change? Why do you have to make it look like chicken? Like I said earlier, be proud of what you are practicing, no? So you want to serve something that's whatever it is. Do not make it appear as if you're ashamed and you want to make it look like chicken. Okay. So here are some principles of planning a healthy vegetarian diet. No, conform to recommendations of the experts, increase energy or nutrients, or use fortified foods, consider nutrient interactions, and if diet alone does not meet the requirements, then you can use some supplements. Okay? Ito, pinakita na po ito kanina ni Jake, no? So meron naman po tayong vegetarian and vegan diet pyramid that you can use to help you. Okay? Ito po rin, no? This is the healthy vegetarian diet, and andito rin po ang number of servings. Okay. Now, your shopping list should include all of this, okay? And all of this that you will see, wala akong animal dyan. Okay, ito for example, yung chia seeds. You just put it in water muna. Why? Because you need it to bloom. So I love using chia on oatmeal. So you have your oatmeal, then you have all of those nuts, no, and fruits, and then you top it off with chia. Add some almond milk, no, and then let it stay in the refrigerator for an hour. Wait for the chia to bloom, no, and after that you have wonderful breakfast. So again, like I said, so many ways to use this. Okay, ayan, no, mga fruits, okay? What was it that Jake said? We live in a tropical country. It's kind of parang makasalanan na hindi tayo kumakain ng prutas, no? O gulay, because they're just all around us. Maybe there are some people who will not like durian, but it can get used. Oh, makopa. No, makopa, and then chesa. I was in a culinary competition one time, and they had a market basket, and they had all of these fruits and all the ingredients on the table. And at the end of the competition, there was one fruit that stayed there on the table. Nobody used it. What was it? It was chesa. So when we asked the contestants, why didn't you use the chesa? And they said they were just not familiar with it. They did not even know what it was, no? So, let us be adventurous and figure out, no, how we are going to do this. Ayan, no, all of this. Okay? Ang dami, di ba? Okay. And of course, no, we have the quinoa, the bulgur, barley, brown rice. Meron pong bago, hindi ko rin nailagay dito. Pero yung adlay. Okay? Adlay is a grain that is very high in fiber and low in low in glycemic index, mid-index. Whole wheat pasta. So what did I say? Stay away from white stuff. Okay? Mas maganda kapag siya ay medyo darker. Yan. Plant-based protein sources na ito na pag-usapan na rin, but it's good to have, what you can do, you can print this out and put it on the wall of your kitchen so that your people will know what you are talking about when you tell them na, tempeh, how we're going to use tempeh. Okay. And then some non-dairy milk alternative. Okay, this one is a little bit, it takes a little getting used to. I don't like almond milk. Sorry, no. So, so when I prepare something that needs milk, no, I cannot use almond milk because I don't like the taste. Soya milk I prefer. Okay. Anyway, it is up to you. Egg alternatives, meron din firm silken tofu cornstarch. This one is available in health food stores, no, in flaxseed meal. And then some healthy fats that you can use, okay? Avocado is a fruit, but it's also very high in fats, but it's the healthy kind of fat. Okay, tahini is sesame paste, and you can make your own, di ba? You know how to make your homemade tahini. And then snack foods. Sabi nga, di ba, pwede ang peanut butter, 2 tablespoons. Ayun na nga, moderation lang, huwag masyadong madami. Eto, no, yun Japanese na seaweed. Pwede din yan. Okay? And then you have your crudités and a nice non-dairy dip. And popcorn. Now, how do you incorporate plants into dishes? Okay, hindi yan. Ayan, when you are making a sandwich, you can remove the bread and replace it with a lettuce. Diba ginagawa natin yan? Okay? Or a collard green wrap. Ano pa? Think out of the box. This is what I meant. This is a lasagna that's all vegan, all vegetables, okay? And all of these are spices that you can use, okay? And of course, your soups can be very rich in vegetables. For breakfast, there's no there's no meat here, okay? And this is your ano tawag nito, parang ginamitan siya ng ano ba tinatawag doon, yun basta yun. Sorry. Okay, this is avocado spread, okay? And a sandwich that is made entirely of vegetables. When I was still studying, I used to sit on, I don't know if Dr. Tawi is still here, but I would sit on the desk of the office of Dr. Florencio. I don't know if you remember her, if you're still around, Tawi. And she would always have this sandwich. I was always fascinated because it was all vegetable, no? And she seemed that she was enjoying it. Okay, so why not, right? Oo. Okay. Pita bread. Ayan, naalala ko na tuloy. Hi. Sorry. Okay. Fruit and vegetable smoothies. Pero wag ito all the time, ha? Why? Okay, if you're going to make fruit and vegetable smoothies, go easy on the sugar. And also, if you're going to make fruit and vegetable smoothies, no, hindi mo yan masyadong makukuha kasi ang kanyang fiber. Okay. Pump up salads and pasta dishes. Now, look at that. No, it has nuts. Okay. And this one has all of these greens. They can look as appetizing, okay, as those that have meat in them. And this is where I end, getting children to go vegan. So sometimes, kasi it's very difficult. These are my grandchildren. So sorry, but I am going to be a little bit mayabang. Look at that. No, I'm teaching them. And this is my son. My son is the one who took after me, who loves to cook. This is my grandson, my granddaughter. And they stay in the kitchen. They love to cook. So get the children inside the kitchen and let them see how exciting it is. Okay? And then make vegetables fun. Admittedly, this will require some artistic inclination. But you guys, I have always said that chefs are artists in their own right, but their canvas is the plate. So you can do that. You can do that, all of that. And don't fight over vegetables. They don't like it. Okay, this is a very important tip. Do not fight over vegetables. They don't like it, don't push it. Because the more that they are going to go away. And then offer only one new vegetable at a time. And then when they're already familiar with that vegetable, then add a new one. Okay? Yun, offering ninyo ng new vegetable should be over several days. Hindi yun, Monday ito, Tuesday ito ay hindi sila magkakaroon ng time mag-appreciate. Okay, take advantage of peer pressure. No, when there's so many people eating and fighting over something on the dining table, the more that they're going to try it. And there are so many ways of cooking vegetables that are exciting. Hindi lang palagi parati lang saute. And the most important one is set a good example. You can only teach what you yourself have. You cannot share something that you do not have. So set a good example. Okay, so I hope that I was able to share with you something new. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and I will turn you over to Dwayne now.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Lucy. So that ends actually our day for the nutrition seminar. Again, if you have further questions, kindly write them on the Q&A panel. And for final instructions and the reminders, I'll turn you over to Andrea again.
Hello. Ayan. Hi again, everyone. So I think most of the questions have been answered. So I'm here to provide the closing remarks. So thank you again for your attention and participation in today's session. If there are any other questions for the speakers, please feel free to email us. And before we formally close, I'd just like to give some reminders from the TVC Secretariat. So we are continuously advocating for a green recovery of our tourism industry. So for those, again, tourism businesses who wish to receive technical support and resource consumption and greenhouse gas emissions tracking and monitoring, as well as on individual menu revisions for more plant-based offerings for your establishment, the TVC Project and Humane Society International would be happy to discuss further how else we can support you and your establishment. And our UNEP partners have created a COVID-19 toolkit for the use of government, private businesses, MSMEs, and local partner implementers. And please expect an email from us soon sharing the link to a drive containing the COVID-19 toolkit, the report on tackling plastic pollution during COVID-19 recovery, as well as the presentations and a recording of the training and some post-training handouts. So rest assured that we'll also be emailing your e-certificates soon. So on behalf of the teams from Percepsi and Humane Society International, we'd like to thank all of our participants from day one for making this plant-based culinary training a success. Thank you also to our panelists and nutritionists for sharing your knowledge and insights with us. So to our dear attendees, we hope you've learned a lot from this training about animal welfare, the sustainability, and the nutrition that a plant-based menu and diet can offer, but also why we need a green recovery for the tourism industry. So we look forward to seeing you here again tomorrow for day two cooking demos presented by our chefs and caterers in the industry. So if we can have a photo up before everyone leaves, if that's okay, I'll be the one to take a picture. If you could kindly turn on your videos, I'll just take like a quick screenshot of everyone. Uh, all right. Okay. Keith, can you assist? I can't find the arrow to show other participants for some reason. Okay. One, two, three. Smile. Okay. Yeah. Can you get the others na lang? I really can't go to the other. Sorry. All right. Okay. So thank you everyone again for being here today. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.
Bye, Jake.